Hi, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to set up a media streamer. In particular, I'm going to be using one called a mediator, and the particular model is an MED 400X2. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to actually physically hook it up to the TX-NR626. So first to be hooked up is the HDMI lead, obviously the most important lead to begin with, so we get the high definition audio and high def sound. Then next up is the optical lead, and this is good for the standard 5.1, and we're also going to connect a pair of analog left and right leads. Now this will be used for lossless audio from 2-channel sources. Now that's all the connections done at the media player end. We now need to concentrate on the TX-NR626. Now connecting up to the 626 is really simple. The HDMI slots in and we're going to use AUX1, which is also MHL enabled. Then we're going to connect the optical to the only optical input on the back, and that's actually labelled TV CD. But what we're also going to do is we're going to connect the analog to the TV CD input. And one of the reasons why you would use the analog input is if you've got high resolution audio lossless codecs stored on your media player. Now that we've set all the physical connections on the 626 and the media player, we now need to go into the on-screen displays and actually set up all of the connections and all of the signals internally. So the first thing that we're going to do within the 626 is we're going to set the HDMI input correctly. And because we've used the default setting, it will already be on the correct input. The auxiliary is HDMI 1, which also supports MHL. And then we're actually going to set the optical input to the digital input label for the use of the media player. So this is going to enable us to have the HDMI connection on the auxiliary input, and then what we can have a choice of is optical connection on the CD input coming from the same source, specifically designing this so you can listen to 2-channel music on a separate input without having to have the TV on. So now we actually need to go and enter the source setup of the 626. Now, as the name suggests, this will only affect settings to do with this specific source. And as you can actually see on the screen, the auxiliary input is actually taking the audio from the HDMI connection, which is great and what we want. But also, we want to use that same source across another input. So here, in the auxiliary input, we need to select HDMI, but press the TV CD input button, and we can instantly switch over. And we've now got a choice of selecting the optical or the analog connection. So if you have a lot of uncompressed high-resolution audio, you can actually run the analog into the TX-NR626 to actually get a better sound quality or different sound quality than the optical connection. And now we're actually all done in the 626, so we can move over to the media player and make sure that's set up correctly. Now the setup with this particular media player is very easy. Move over to the cog on the far right hand side, press OK, and this will actually take you into the setup system. Now, it's very simple. You move across right to the audio, and the best settings I found for this particular unit is the night mode off, it's not compressed, and then leave the HDMI output to pass through and the optical output to pass through. Then on the HDMI picture settings, just leave it on HDMI auto, and then it's your own personal choice whether you want 1080p 24 on or not. So now, while we've got some music playing, I could bring up the on-screen display and it's showing me I'm playing PL2 music. I'm receiving the digital audio information from the HDMI connection, both the sound and the picture. But then, if I press the home button, I can on the fly change inputs and then look at the information on the new input, which happens to be TV CD. I'm now listening to an analog signal from the mediator, and then if I move down to the video, it will confirm to me that I'm using the HDMI input. But what I can do now is I can switch the TV off and have it as a stereo only system. So there we have it. We're using one physical source, but we're actually mirroring it over 2 inputs on the TX-NR626 and giving us a media player and a CD player, and we have the choice whether to use or not to use the TV screen. I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.